Hey there, how's it going everybody? In this video, we're going to be using Python and the YouTube API to find the most popular videos in a playlist. Now, I want to say right off the bat that this is going to be very similar to the last video I covered where we used Python and the YouTube API to calculate the total duration of a playlist. So if you haven't watched that video yet, then I'd recommend watching that first because I'm going to use our final script from that video as a starting point for this video. So like I said, we're going to be using Python and the YouTube API to find the most popular videos in a playlist. Now, this is another script that I use a lot personally, and let me show you why. So I have the EuroPython 2019 playlist pulled up here in my browser. Now, I like to watch conference videos to keep up to date with the latest changes in Python and new techniques and technologies, but I don't really have time to watch every talk from every conference. We can see here that if I look at this playlist that there are, if I scroll all the way to the bottom here, there are about 133 talks that were uploaded to this conference playlist. And a lot of these talks are 45 minutes to an hour. So maybe I just want to watch the most popular videos from a specific playlist instead of watching every single video. And on the YouTube site, there's not actually a way for us to sort these playlists by the most popular videos. Now, if I go to their videos page here, then I can sort by their most popular videos. So if I go to their videos, then we can click on most popular here. But this is for their entire channel. So we can see here that their most popular video was from 8 years ago. So that's definitely not from last year's conference. So if I wanted to know the most popular video from a particular playlist, then I'd have to go through and look at those views manually. And doing this for different playlists just isn't really practical. So we're going to learn how to find the most popular videos from a playlist automatically using Python and the YouTube API. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. Now, like I said, I'm going to use our final script from the playlist duration video as a starting point for what we want to do here. And I've already got this pulled up here in my browser. Or I'm sorry, I have this pulled up here in my editor. And as usual, I'll have a link to all the code in the description section below if anyone would like to follow along. Okay, so the script that we have here that we wrote in the previous video will calculate the total duration of a playlist given a playlist ID. So let's go over this script here real quick and see what it does, and then we'll look at how to adapt this script to do what we need. Okay, so we are first importing some libraries here. We are importing the Google API client. We're setting up our API key here and connecting to the YouTube service. Here is where we have some regular expressions that will calculate the total time in a video. And then what we are doing here is looping over all of the videos in a particular playlist, and then we are making that execution to the API. And then what we do here is we scroll through and grab all of the video IDs here, and then we make a request to the videos resource using those video IDs. And then we loop through all of those responses for all of the videos in that playlist. And in this example, we're grabbing the total duration and parsing those out, and then just adding those up so that we can get the total duration for a playlist. Now, like I said, I go much more in detail into this script in the previous video where we initially wrote this. So that is a quick overview of our script. Okay, so now that we've gone over this script to calculate the total duration, now let's run this script here using that EuroPython playlist, and then we'll think about how we want to change this script so that we're instead grabbing the most popular videos. There are a few different ways that we can get the playlist ID, but I'm just going to go directly to the playlist that I want and grab that ID directly. So I want the EuroPython 2019 playlist. Let me pause this again here. Now, if we go up to the URL here, one way to grab a playlist ID is it's just a parameter here in the URL. So we can see, I know that this is probably a little small on my monitor, but we have one argument that says list is equal to, and then a big long ID, and that is the playlist ID. So I'm just going to copy that, And then now that we have that, let's go paste this into our script from the last video. Now, in the last video, I put the playlist ID directly here in our query just to make clear what the playlist ID is. Let's go ahead and create a new variable here called playlist ID. I probably should have done this in the last video, but that's okay. We'll go ahead and do it here. So I'm going to place that playlist ID out here. And now within our API query here, I'm just going to use that variable instead of that string directly. Okay, so right now, this script is going to calculate the total duration of an entire playlist. So let's run this real quick to make sure that this is still working properly with this specific playlist. So if we run this, then we can see that this does seem to be working, and it's telling us that the playlist has almost 77 hours worth of content. So this is still working, but now we want to modify this script to instead give us the most popular videos from this playlist. So let's go ahead and start changing some of our code. So first of all, we're no longer going to need to do any calculations with the video durations. So we can just go ahead and remove all of the stuff like, date, time, and regular expression stuff that we were using before. So let me scroll up here and see what we don't really need anymore. So we're not going to need regular expressions, since we were using that to parse out the duration of the videos. We're not going to need the date time library anymore. We're also not going to need our regular expressions here, so I will just delete all of these compiled regular expressions. We're not going to need total seconds. And let me see what else down here. So if I scroll down to where we were actually parsing out the duration from these videos, we can get rid of these hours, minutes, and seconds here. And also we can get rid of this section where we were converting these to a time delta or to total seconds. And also I'm not going to need the total seconds here. So, and there's one more right here. So I can I'll just take out this entire bottom part where we're calculating those total seconds and turning those into minutes or hours, minutes, and seconds. And I'll get rid of the print statement as well. Okay, so now I think the 38 lines that we have here basically just loops through a playlist and all of the videos in that specific playlist. So just to say that again, now that we've removed all of that code, basically all that's left is that we are looping over all of the videos in a playlist and then making a request with each video ID to get more detailed information about each video. Now, right now, the information that we're getting back is the video duration. If I look right here, but we can instead change this so that we're getting the number of views that each video has instead. That way we can sort these by the most popular videos. So to figure out how to do this, we can look at the documentation online and see what properties of the video we need to access. And I have that open here in my browser. So let's take a look at this documentation to see how we would figure this out. Okay, so if you want to see what is available to you, so right now we're in the videos resource here. If we want to see what's available to us, we can go down to resource representation. So we can see here that it says the following JSON structure shows the format of a video's resource. So if I look at this, we can see that there's a lot of information here. But the one that I would be interested in is if we go down here to statistics, we can see that in statistics, we have this view count. Now, I'm going to base the most popular video based off of view count, but if you wanted to, you could also base it off of like count or how many comments there are, things like that. So now we know that in order to get the view count for each video, we need to access the statistics of each video, and then we can access the view count from those statistics. So let's go back to our script and add this. So back in our script here, up here where we had content details, we no longer want the content details, we want those statistics. So I will put that in instead. And now down here in our loop, where we were looping through and getting the duration from those content details, now we want to access the statistics. And then within the statistics, we want the view count. Now that is camel case there. Again, if you need to get a reference for that, then you can look at the documentation. We can see that it is camel cased here. So now if I go back to the script, now I'm also going to change this variable name here instead of duration. Let's just call this vid_views. Okay. Now we're also going to want links to the most popular videos after we sort by view count. So to create a YouTube link, all we need to do is grab the video ID, and then we can create a link manually ourselves. So we can do this just by saying vidID is equal to. Now to access the ID, we can just say item and access the ID key. And now to create a link manually, what we can do here is I'll just create an F string, and this is going to be HTTPS : //. Now here's how YouTube links are structured. So this is the shorthand YouTube links here. So u2.be, and then we can just do a / and then pass in the video ID. So I will go ahead and do that. Okay, so right now, let's think about what we've done here so far. So we are looping over the playlist, and we are accessing each video in that playlist, and then we are grabbing the view counts and creating a link for each video in the playlist. So now, in order to sort these, we can simply add all of this information to a list and then sort the list based on the number of views. So first, let's create a global list here where we can add this information. So up here at the top, which is outside of our loop, right above this next page token here, I'm just going to create an empty list with a variable name of videos. And the information that we're going to add for each video is going to be the view count and the link for that video. So each video can just be a dictionary with those two pieces of information. So down here, back under our vidID and YouTube link, let's just append this information to our videos list. So I'll say videos.append. And now what we want to append is going to be dictionary information. So let me get this looking correct. Okay, so first I'm going to add the information for the views, and the views will just be we could do video views here. Now, I'm not sure how this information comes back. I think this information comes back as a string. So just to make sure that this is an integer that we can sort on, let's go ahead and cast this to an integer just to be sure. Because if it was a string, then it wouldn't work correctly. All of the ones, so a 1 and a 100 would come before 2. But if it's an integer, then, it would be 1, 2, and then 100. So hopefully that makes sense. And now let's also add the URL here. And the URL is just going to be that YouTube link. Okay, so now we are adding each of these videos information to our videos list as a dictionary. So our videos list is going to be a list of dictionaries. So before we sort this, let's just print out some of these values and see if our script is working so far. Because we've actually written a good bit of code so far without testing that any of this is working so far. So back on our main level here, outside of that while loop, let's loop over our videos and print out the URL and view count for each video. So to do this, we can just say for video in videos, and I will print out, remember this is a dictionary, so I'm just going to print out the video URL and access that URL key, and I'll also print out the video views and access that views key. And also while we're at it, let's go ahead and also print out the number of videos in our videos list. If you remember back at the beginning of the video, we saw that there were 133 videos in the playlist for this conference. So we should probably check to make sure that those numbers are matching up correctly. So outside of our for loop here, I'm going to print the length of our videos list. Okay, so now let's run this and see if what we have so far is working. Okay, so we can see down here at the bottom that it did print out that there are 133 videos, and each of these videos prints out the URL and view count of each video. So now we should be able to simply sort our list of videos in order to get the most popular videos first. Now, if you're unfamiliar with sorting in Python, then I do have a video specifically on sorting, and I'll be sure to leave a link to that video in the description section below in case anyone is interested. But in this case, since we're sorting a list of dictionaries, then we'll have to pass in our own custom key. So let me actually sort this video's list in place before I loop over these videos. So to sort a list in place, we can just say videos.sort. And now we need to pass in our own custom key. Now this custom key is going to be a function telling Python what we want to sort these videos on. Now this could be a function that we write ourselves up here. But if you just want to write an inline function, then we can write a lambda function, which is basically just an anonymous function. But if you aren't familiar with lambda functions, then you can always just write your own custom function as well. But to do a lambda function, we can just say lambda, and then what our variable is going to be, I'll just call this vid. And now we need to specify our return value here. So what this is saying is, okay, when you're looping through this list here, you're going to see a bunch of videos. So what do we want to sort on with these videos? We want to sort on vid and access that views key and sort on that views key. Now, by default, this will sort in ascending order. So the lowest views will be first and then go down to the highest views. We actually want to get the highest views first. So we can just say that we want reverse is equal to true, and that will give us the highest viewed videos first. And also, let me go ahead and remove our print statement for the length of videos as well, since we already made sure that that looked right. Okay, so now if we run this code, then scroll up here at the top, then our output should be sorted with all of the most popular videos of this playlist at the top. So we can see here that the most watched talk from this conference had over 5,500 views. And if we copy the link and paste this into our browser, just to make sure that this is a valid link, then we can see that, yes, we have the same number of views here, almost 5,500. And it looks like this was a video on Python versus Rust for simulation. So, that might be a cool video to watch if that's something that sounds interesting to you. So we've pretty much done what we set out to do here. Now, if you'd like to see, just the top 10 videos or something like that, then instead of looping over the entire playlist, we could always just use list slicing when printing out this information. So for example, to see the top 10 videos from this conference, then right here where we are looping over these videos, I could just use list slicing here and say that we want up to the 10th video. So if I run this, then this you can see that we have a lot less videos here now. And that'll simply loop over the first 10 values of our sorted list. Now, you might notice some discrepancies here with the views. It says that this is 5,500 here. And if we go back to our browser, it says that this is only 5,400 or so. The reason is because sometimes the information that is displayed publicly might not get updated all the time. But it's just a small difference here. Sometimes the API data can be slightly different than what's on the front page, just depending on how often each section gets updated. But like I said, this is pretty much what we set out to do here. So now we have a way to grab the top viewed videos from a specific playlist. Now, if you'd like to take this a step further with practicing programming, then there are a lot of ways that we could do something like this, but maybe with a better front end. So for example, you could create a web application, either using Flask or Django, that allows people to paste in a playlist and then sort playlists like this and then display the embedded videos on a web page in that order so that they can go through them each individually. Doing things like that is always good for learning, to take what we learn in these videos and apply them to larger projects in some way. And like I said, just writing scripts like this for myself, I use scripts like this all the time whenever, I'm watching a particular playlist and I just want to watch the most popular ones. Okay, so I think that's going to do it for this video. I hope you feel like you have a better grasp of using the YouTube API with Python and also getting an idea of some of the cool and practical things that we can do with this knowledge. Now, like I said, I've already seen some comments from a few different viewers that said that they were going to turn the tools that we're building here into either Flask or Django web applications so that the general public can use tools like this as well. And I think that's a great idea. It's also possible to take the knowledge that we learn here in these areas and make some good supplemental income. So for example, if you use the API to create something useful like we did here for others, and then put it into a website for the general public to use, then I could definitely see that bringing in some extra income based on the traffic coming to your site. So yeah, I always think it's a good idea to take what we learn here and maybe try to adapt it to your own and put it into maybe an app or a website or something like that. But if anyone has any questions about what we covered in this video, then feel free to ask in the comments section below, and I'll do my best to answer those. And if you enjoy these tutorials and would like to support them, then there are several ways you can do that. The easiest way is to simply like the video and give it a thumbs up. And also, it's a huge help to share these videos with anyone who you think would find them useful. And if you have the means, you can contribute through Patreon or YouTube, and there are links to those pages in the description section below. Be sure to subscribe for future videos, and thank you all for watching.